Next up, we have Action Comics number 1012, written by Brian Michael Bendis with art by Simon Kudransky, Brad Anderson, and Josh Reed. It's time to get back to the Invisible Mafia, but after waiting so long and dealing so heavily with Leviathan, I don't know if anyone's going to remember the goofy food nickname group, and they especially won't from the art depicting them. God, I'm having trouble tonight with this.
No.
The meat of the story, though, is the introduction of Rose and Thorn into this series, where she's immediately given the Leviathan offer to help change the world, even though it doesn't really matter because she's just introduced in this issue. There's no real stakes to the idea. Oh my God, this character we just saw here, she was given the offer? Oh my.
Yeah. Yep, she got the offer. Yes, she did. And it kind of pulls back of being Leviathan as one person. And I think that Bendis got word that you said that it was going to be one person, and now he's pissed. You can't out Bendis, my friend. We're going to start with
somebody just said, hey, Leviathan is a group. Oh, shit, it is? We are Leviathan.
I just want to say, well, first off, too, you start with this web page, the Daily Planet, Twitter page, and it drove me nuts. I'm looking at it. You
really like this.
You got Jason Momoa mentioned in the DC comic movies. I'm like, I don't need that. What I love, though, is this fantasy world that Brian Michael Bendis is in. I need whatever he's on, Eric. I need it because in any world that right now trending is Event Leviathan, Gem World Crisis, Wonder Twins, Lex Lucifer, dilates for hero, and really? Like, pretend that's going to be trending at any time on our Twitters, please. That ain't happening. Also, I want to point out the Daily Planet
Sometimes
are
Superman
a bunch
does.
of assholes. Assholes, Eric.
Oh my.
They have 124 million followers and follow back 127 people. What a bunch of jerks. Really, assholes. That sounds like old Eric Shea right there. But yeah, after that,
you mean in the future, old Eric Shea?
I do. Yeah,
like old man Eric coming back from the future.
The issues I have, two issues right away. Simon Kudransky, me and him have an ongoing battle, Eric. Him versus my eyes. No, he's never found out about this. I do not like his art. I never have. It's just a thing. It seems like at the beginning.
His art. What is this the first bit with the freaking Invisible Mafia, though, with the style that he's depicting? Because
because he's trying to be Alex Maleev. It's just Alex Maleev from the Leviathan
idea, though,
book.
that you jump in here to reintroduce the Invisible Mafia, which we haven't really dealt with in wholeheartedly in a long time since the Leviathan started. We had that whole Iron Lung kind of thing, that lead tube that they all get into, and they have their meetings so Superman can't see them. When you can't even recognize any of their faces and the style is actually a hindrance on trying to figure out who any of these people are. I think that he's trying to
grab the Alex Maleev style that was on the Leviathan book, so you're getting that Leviathan feel there.
But this is the most Action Comics part of it.
I know. Well, you have that going. Now, my other problem is that why do I have to have these things? I get hungry every time I'm reading these people.
Gummy?
I mean, there's pretzel, there's gummy. It's funny if
Gummy
Brian Michael
Bendis
Bendis
doesn't have any teeth.
Yeah, really. If Brian Michael Bendis is listening, which I would doubt it, and he would want to put it, I'd like to be cheesesteak. That's who I am, Eric. I'm cheesesteak. You'd be pizza. You're the stuffed crust pizza.
I don't want to be pizza.
Hey, stuffed crust pizza, get over here. It's funny because as Superman is listening and they're trying to not go.
Can I be like a 7-Eleven Bahama Mama?
You could be the Bahama Mama. And it has to be 7-Eleven cheeseburger big bite. And Superman's listening in because they don't, they're afraid of these trigger words. Superman starts like, who are these people that are always yelling about food? I mean, they're always talking about food and stuff. But yeah, they're going with all this, and it's a lot of nothing. This whole issue is a lot of nothing. This is what Brian Michael Bendis is.
When we first had the Invisible Mafia, with the idea that these people have to be super careful, so they go and they have the meetings in this tube that's led so they can't be see-through. They have the idea of the words you can't say because we can't get Superman hearing out for us anymore. We're going to stay incognito. But I don't know anything about this. Like, this was a problem when they first introduced these characters, that I don't know what they're talking about, because this Invisible Mafia, we've never seen what they do, really, except for set some fires to make it look like Superman did it at one point, and that was it. So when you introduce them, but make it so I can't even recognize who these faces are, if there's anybody in the group that was there before, but you are not helping anything in this reintroduction here to get people back on board.
No, and it seems like he doesn't even care about that. What he cares about is introducing this new drug, Apocalypse. It's the Apocalypse drug, and it's going to get you. So that seems to be what that's all about, because they're like, hey, what's going on? Hey, this new apocalypse deal. And then we go off to, and I still think that he thinks that whole thing of not saying words, he's so enamored with his cleverness with that you always have to have that play where somebody almost says a word, somebody mentions that you better add another word to the list. I said to you, they better start adding a Leviathan because that's his trigger.
And now they know that the Bermuda Triangle is where the new Fortress of Solitude is, so now we can't say Bermuda Triangle anymore because he's going to be hearing out for that.
I love it too. It's like all of a sudden there's some poor schmuck in Metropolis like, hey, welcome to the Paranormal Podcast. I'm Paranormal Papa, and tonight we're talking about Bermuda Triangle. Superman comes and grabs him.
What'd you say, boy?
And goes, what did you say? I don't know.
And the thing is, it's something very silly to be upset about. But even looking at this Bermuda Triangle where there's seagulls, I know they're just taking dumps all over this damn thing.
I didn't like it.
I hate the Bermuda Triangle Fortress of Solitude and just the idea of it, because like on the inside, it doesn't matter. It's just the Fortress of Solitude. You never know the difference. But just when you have these crystals coming out of the water and some rocks there, I'm like, I just don't like it for some reason, just because of the history of that, North Pole Fortress of Solitude, something I've known my entire life, just to say, no, it's over here now.
It was just changed,
Bendis.
Just to change it.
Hey, you like that, Superboy? 17 now, Bendis.
Yeah, really.
Just change things.
You like them as a couple? No way. They're swingers now.
Now they just hook up and have booty calls. I'm like, why did you do this to them? But I'm telling you, this has nothing to do about the issue. It's my own little hang-ups, but I swear that it has nothing to do with my outcome of my ideas for this issue. For some reason, it's been building up. I'm like, I got to tell people again how much I don't like this new status quo Superman.
Yeah, then you go, and it's pretty much sexy time talk with Clark and Lois, Superman and Lois there laying in bed together.
The whole
thing doesn't mean anything.
Do you remember what you thought the first time you saw me? No, I don't. Yes, I do. Oh my God. It doesn't matter now because it's just Superman exiting this issue while he just came in. Okay, here I am. Hey, you remember this? No, I don't. And then, okay, goodbye. And then he's out of the issue for the rest of the friggin' thing. I'm like, why do we even, is this the quota version you said about Detective, or you have to have a Superman in an Action Comics?
When he's like, I'm going to leave the planet now because you're going to try to reverse engineer that nonsense and the truth about how she thought when she first saw him. And then he's like, all right, you'll be back from interstellar galactic war with your creep of a father. And then it's shoom, shoom. I'm already back. It was, that panel, the way Superman, who is that Superman? When he comes back, I'm like, what is that? That is the worst looking Superman I've ever seen.
1990s Ben Affleck.
Hey, bro, I'm back already. Yeah. And then it's just the whole thing. And even with the dialogue,
like
hey, Metropolis. I'm like, I just don't like this. And then Lois with her, she's like getting her hair and I'm like, who is that? I don't even like that. This art is awful.
Well, the thing is that for the most part, once we get past the Invisible Mafia stuff, I didn't mind the art until we got to the point where we introduced Rose Forrest, who's Rose and Thorn in this. But when she was first, Robinson Goode first walked in to interview her, I thought that was Lois Lane sitting there.
Superman going off. Lois is there having Kalex looking on her dad. She needs her notepad. And then we go back to the Daily Planet. And then we get
Trisha Q and Robinson Goode.
And it's classic awful Bendis dialogue with this. Like, hey, I wish we were better friends, Robin. That's nice. What's your name again? Big Barda. What can I do for you, Trish? Lois Lane. What just happened? What are you talking about? These people should both be committed. If anybody was listening to any of this nonsense that they're talking about, they should be put away. And it keeps going on where it's a lot of talk with nothing said. You end up there where Trish, she's the gossip
for some
reporter.
Reason we have to deal with the gossip reporter. Well, that's the thing. We had this before when Lois was in Chicago writing her book about her time and space, and the whole thing, they put out the information that Lex Luthor was showing up to ask her questions. Lex Luthor and Lois Lane spotted in the Chicago hotel schmoozing it up, and we never dealt with that again. So beyond this whole talk about Superman's kissing Lois Lane, I don't know how much further we're going to take this, because as far as anybody knows from the gossip columnists, Lois is all over town giving it to anybody who asks.
Yeah, oh my, watch yourself. Oh, hi, Trish. I wish we were better friends, Robin. That's nice. What's your name again? Big Barda. What can I do for you, Trish? Lois Lane. Ends up the legends are true. She's so cool, right? And I have footage of her making out with Superman. Uh-huh. Here. Oh, you do? And it keeps going. Then Superman, who is not her husband. Oh, I like Clark Kent. I do too. Poor guy. Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, poor Clark. Lois kissed Superman right on the lips. Poor Clark.
On the lips? That means they're going steady.
What are they, Tom Brady? There's 2 pages of nothing at all. Nothing at all.
When we even get past this point where Robinson's at her desk and it looks like she's out of nowhere. We don't know what it means at this point, but her arm becomes the red cloud.
Yeah, she starts turning in the red cloud.
Like she can't control her power all of a sudden. Freaking Perry's about to see it. Thankfully, it turns back, and that's where
she doesn't even seem that concerned either for what that is.
We move on from that, though, out of nowhere because we have that Rose Forrest. Now we have to have Robinson Goode interview Rose Forrest and the idea of her split
because
personality.
That's who called. Rose called. I'll tell you, as they're doing that back and forth, Robinson and Trish, that the last panel of it, do you have that up? The guy walking away, rubbing his head, that's me. That's me walking away from the issue. He's like, God damn, I can't take this. You do have Robinson then go to talk to Rose, just continues throughout this whole deal of just nonsense. And people are like, man, Rose and Thorn, that's awesome. That's brilliant. Some of these characters aren't around for a reason.
It's even the second version of Rose and Thorn. And the last one we even had was Tom Taylor did a series of Rose and Thorn, which was the original version, Rose Canton. So it's like, I just want to go and wonder why these writers pick certain versions of these characters at certain times. I would just pick Rose Canton just because I don't like the idea that this character, her name's Rose and Thorn, but her real name, Rose Forrest. I'm like, no, that's a little too much for me. Go to Canton version.
So yeah, you have Robinson talking to her. She's like, I have this other side of me, this Thorn. Yeah, she comes out. And really the progression is...
Am I talking to her now?
I'm telling you, mess up my hair and kind of shuffle my suit a little. You know what I mean? The coat gets a little bit more disheveled and the hair gets messy. Yeah,
hair gets a little redder, maybe.
Am I talking to Detective Butters right now? And so also with this, people aren't going to really know. So when it does change, you got to change the panel layout with the borders do turn into thorns then, because who can tell? She looks like she's just gone out for the night. She's a little bit drunk.
She came through the garden here in Metropolis doing the walk of shame with that mussed up hair.
Is this Big Rig Butters that we're talking to right now? She's just like, hey, and I would love it because the idea of this would be, in my mind, a very distinct change in voice. Like you'd have Rose who would be very, kind of meek and kind of, well, I called you because, I just needed you to be there.
Guys? Hey, it's me here, Thorn.
Hey there, Robinson Goode. What's going on there,
Let me tell you about my vigilantism over there in the suicide slums, Robbins.
Listen there, I'm down in there in suicide slums like it ain't nobody's business there. Forget about it. That's all I can think is that it's this crazy change, but you can't get that in the comic page, and I wish you could. I'm telling you, at one point, they were selling the bottles of the apocalypse for like 100,000 the bottles. Like, what is going on?
All of a sudden, she starts talking like Gilbert Godfrey when she's freaking Thorn.
Hey! They were selling the bottles of apocalypse. He's yelling and screaming. Oh, it's so good. I love her waving her hands around. And then she just shows that she just goes to the underground, of Metropolis and just kicks ass. She goes and smashes people with bottles.
It's such a weird idea, too, because this whole thing where Thorn is a vigilante, she goes down to the, suicide slums or whatever, and she kicks ass and talks about the idea in this town of Superman and stuff like that. She believes that there's a conspiracy going on where the cops are letting vigilantes go and do this to try to clean up the streets to make their job easier because they're used to a Superman.
That's all it is.
And I understand because I'm a lazy guy too. But even when we go later on, when we go to this whole thing where, Robinson then reports to Leon about what she has heard about this whole thing. And Leon's like, was my name brought up? I'm like, why would you be a part of the conspiracy that she's talking about with cops and stuff like that? It seemed like a very odd line for her to say. Or she just like,
very odd.
Did they talk about me? Yes, they talked about. They always talk about you, Leon. You're a very big person. You're very important.
Yeah, and it's just weird like that. Invisible, it just pops up.
And that's the whole thing too, because Thorn, she's kicking the crap out of the Invisible Mafia here. I think Gummy got a kick to the face.
Hey, look
they call
at
him
me
Gummy
here.
now because he has no teeth now.
Step off there, Robinson. I'm telling you, she's yelling.
Step off.
That's what crazy people sound like. I know it.
This is the first thing, the introduction of Rose and Thorn, where you don't get any backstory. You just get the idea that this poor girl Rose becomes a homicidal vigilante who takes out bad guys in the suicide slums at night. And
I would love to think that she runs around and she has a belt with bottles on it because she keeps smashing bottles over people's heads. That's her weapon of choice. Don't get near me. You're going to break the bottles. Hey!
The idea, though, that you put all this time in to do the rose and the thorn borders to show the difference and stuff, the whole thing. But by the end, though, when you give her the offer from Leviathan to say, like, hey, you want to change the world, I'm going to give you a way to change the world, it doesn't mean anything because we just had her here talking. We don't know anything about Rose and Thorn except for she thinks there's a conspiracy going on.
She needs a really strong catchphrase. And I'm telling you, I don't have one right now.
Hey, Gummy, you shouldn't bottle up your emotions.
Yes, but I think that what we're seeing here with a lot of these things, and Brian Michael Bendis is jumping full in with this and some other things that he's doing, it kind of is, the Kite Man syndrome, where you want to try to grab these old characters.
I'm cool with that as long as you set them up and
Rose
do
and
something
Thorn
with them.
isn't as much of a joke as a Kite Man. But yeah, that's the problem is, everybody out there, we have Tom King fans that listen, obviously, and you'll have most
obvious?
of them love Kite Man. No, I'm saying he has a lot of, so they like Kite Man. But, well, they might not listen to us, but the idea of, man, you got Kite Man, he's no longer a joke, but what has he really done for anything? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when
Shouldn't
these characters
bottle up your
come.
emotions. I'm going to kick your glass.
Oh my. By the end, the hardly knew ye, Rose and Thorn, gets a visit from our man Leviathan, who is giving her the offer. And it's,
why is everybody getting offered right now?
I don't know. Everybody's getting offers, but he's like, I think you have mistaken me for somebody else. We are Leviathan. I'm like, ooh, it's getting a little different from before. I keep thinking that before it was I was, or I'm doing this. Now all of a sudden it's a we. And how would you like to make a real difference in Metropolis? Now, of all the things we've seen of Leviathan and all the things that we've seen, his MO and their MO now or whatever.
Yeah.
Rose and Thorn fits it well because she's going down in the underground. She's fighting things on her own. And it seems like that would be something the way Leviathan
It's going to be great, Rose and Thorn. You and Batgirl are going to get together. Nobody else is taking me up on this offer yet.
That's what I was going to say. The thing is, though, you go to Batgirl and like, hey, Batgirl, what's going on, girl? You're doing this.
Hey,
I have this other plan. And Batgirl ain't going to listen to him. She's going to get out of town. Rose and Thorn, they might listen. I mean, they're just, we
don't know that Batgirl didn't take that off.
Am I speaking to Detective Rose? He's got to make sure he talks to Thorn, not Rose. But
well, just look to see if she has mussed up hair.
Yeah, that's all he does. He's like, wait a minute, let me look.
Who am I speaking to? Well, you're speaking to Thorn right now.
I love it.
Of course I am.
Hey, baby, who am I speaking to? What do you mean there, bro? You're speaking to the Rose. Nah, I think you're lying.
I don't think you're
Thorn. Telling the truth. Oh, man, got me again, sucker.
How does he keep doing it?
He keeps guessing it.
I thought Batman was the world's greatest detective.
It seems like this guy in the mask is. Oh, man. What'd you give this?
I ended up giving this a 5.4 out of 10 because I thought the dialogue was the normal nonsense Bendis dialogue. I liked the art for the majority of it, except for that beginning stuff with the Invisible Mafia. And it's like, for some reason, this changing of the styles throughout just didn't do anything for me. And the idea that we just had a whole section, a small section of Superman to just move away from that to introduce a character and say really nothing about her.
He's been told that he has to have Superman in the book and he has to be doing Superman things. That gone and back, that's the Superman thing. I think
Quota
he's
fulfilled.
And I think that he's kind of like, you don't tell Bendis what Bendis does. So here, I'm going to give you that. And it's almost like he's already trying to be sure.
It's just ultimately at the end of this whole thing, though, I found this issue to be boring because I'm like, the idea of introducing Rose and Thorn, that's interesting to me. I like these older characters, these, not very well used characters. Pardon me, they haven't been used in a while. But when you just say, okay, here they are, and then give them an offer, well, that doesn't mean anything to me because you just brought her in this issue. I'm like, why would you do this? And when you do introduce them, you just pretty much have her sitting down and talking to another character you haven't fully developed in Robinson Good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to give it a 5.5. The one thing, though, I will tell you, I didn't think there was going to be anything to talk about in this issue. We had some fun. So at least we had that.
There!
Thorn's in the house again. I didn't invite Thorn to dinner. I invited Rose.
Baby, go brush your hair and give me Rose back.
Yeah, really. I want Rose back.